Hello, and welcome to On the Spectrum. You know, one of the challenges that some people with high-functioning autism or Asperger's may experience is with organization and time management. We know that learning strategies, skills, and routines do help with these areas and can make a difference in someone's daily life who has autism. Today, I'd like to welcome Carolyn Sprague to our show.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you here. Carolyn's going to talk about some of the wonderful ways that you work together to make sure your son Parker, who has Asperger's syndrome, is organized and on time for school each day. Carolyn, if you could just tell us a little bit about Parker, and then we can go into some of the strategies that you use with him.
Okay, well, Parker is almost 14. He's in 8th grade, his second year of middle school in our school system. He does quite well with academics. He's in the advanced math group. Not a superstar, but really good, mathematical mind. And he's really wonderful. He's a lot of fun.
That's great. You know, Carolyn, you're not only a parent, but I know that you're a true advocate for your son, Parker. You've also gone back to school, in fact, and will receive a certificate in autism spectrum disorders in May from Antioch University, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. How has this education and the experience and what you've learned, the information that you have, helped you in working with your son, Parker?
Well, I would look for advice from a lot of different experts that I would see, and I would get advice, but it was hard for me to pull it together. Mm-hmm. And going to the school just brought it into much sharper focus, gave me a lot of understanding about why he's responding the way he does, what's going on in the way he perceives things, and gave me sharpened my tools so that when I see things that are not working, I have resources that I can immediately tap into.
And that's huge, to be able to apply exactly what you're learning about to working with someone or being with someone on the spectrum is definitely an asset. I know you've developed some graphic organizers with Parker to help him keep organized, help him get up in the morning, remember his papers, his homework papers, and I'm sure some of the viewers are realize that these might be areas that are in need as well. One of the visuals that you've created is called Morning Routine Flowchart. But before we talk about that, I know that you have a clock there that you've started using with Parker, and maybe you can explain that a little bit.
Okay, well, this was to help him with his morning routine. I got the idea from Sarah Ward. I went to one of her workshops, and what she recommended was you take a marker, and this is where the bus comes in red. This is the get ready stage. Over here, he'd be eating breakfast. And then there's shower and dress and getting up, the alarm clock. So at first we had everything written out. And over the course of years, we've been fading back from that and just provide the color cues.
That's awesome. So as the minute hand moves, he knows within that time he's going to take a shower here.
Yeah, and that time is running out if he doesn't do it.
Exactly. And he knows within this time that he's going to have breakfast, getting ready, and then the bus.
Right.
Very good.
Yep.
And you have found that that's really helped him.
Yeah, it's been enormous. We park it in the middle of the breakfast table every morning. In fact, if we forget to do it, he says, "Can you get the clock out?"
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
no, he's starting to depend on it, which is really helpful because they don't tend to cue to external signals. So this is a way to get him hooked on looking at external signals and to also notice the flow of time. Exactly.
That's great. What a great strategy. Okay, one of the visuals that you created is called Morning Routine Flowchart. And we're going to show that to our viewers at home. This is a great flowchart, and maybe you can explain what this is, how you came about implementing this with Parker, and go through it step by step. That would be awesome.
Okay, well, first off, I sat down with Parker and I said, okay, morning routine. What do you want to do in your morning routine? And I wrote down the different things that he suggested.
So you included him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was a critical part. I had to have his input, his buy-in,
Absolutely.
his creative ideas.
Right.
And then additionally, I would make some suggestions. Well, you know, you're getting older now. You need a shower every other day at least.
Right,
so
right.
when would you like to do your shower? It's sort of like, it's a given that you're going to have a shower. When his choice was when.
Right, exactly.
He was going to have a shower. And I took all the information and then I put it together in a graphic, which I think you'll see on a screen.
Right. So the first part, over to the left, in purple, you have...
Yeah, and the square on the left-hand side says plan and prepare. My vision is to generate a number of routines for daily living for him and have him acquire proficiency in all of them. And each one's going to begin with plan and prepare.
And what is the goal? What's the ultimate goal here?
Independence.
Great. So this...
I'm going to back up and say right now he's very dependent on us. Mm-hmm. We and the school provide structure for him. We remind him to get on track. And we want him to learn how to create structure for himself, to learn how to follow routines independently.
Beautiful. So this one, this purple, starts at 7:30 at night. So this is
the
evening.
Night before, yeah.
Okay, the night before.
This is preparation stage. It happens the night before. The first task in that stage is packing the backpack. Mm-hmm. Then also he checks the planner and calendar pretty much at the same time, just to make sure that what he really needs goes into the backpack.
Right.
He also goes and checks the weather. He likes that because he gets to go to his dad and play with his iPhone.
Right.
He chooses clothes that are appropriate to the weather, and then he takes his dirty clothes and puts them in the laundry basket, gets his jammies and teeth done. And last but not least, he's bought into using his alarm, and that was a big deal. He decides himself what time he wants to get up. I usually give him some things to think about.
Exactly.
For example, we had a great homework assignment about zombies in the homeroom, and it was about students who weren't getting enough sleep.
Oh, gosh.
And so he knows from that he's supposed to get nine and a half hours. Like, well, Parker, if you need 9 hours and you're going to need to be at school at this time, what would be a good time to set your alarm and go to sleep? And what time are you going to turn out your light to go to sleep?
Right, that association helped. Now, we know that Parker is very high functioning, and there are several steps here.
Right. For someone who's not quite so high functioning, there'd be fewer words. Instead of saying pack the backpack, you would just say backpack.
Okay, so we may have fewer things to check off.
And you would have fewer steps, too. So you might try to cut it back to half.
Great. All right, so the next morning he gets up at 7:45.
Yep, and then drinking fluids is always a good thing. He doesn't quite drink as much as he needs. And then the shower, he has a timer in the shower room. He sets it for 15 minutes.
Okay.
And we try to help him get that target. He falls on and off the wagon in terms of being independent. Right. So we sometimes have to say, well, what happened to your timer? Right. Oh yeah.
Getting dressed and
then we have a 5-minute energy routine, which is designed. It's sort of like an OT routine to stimulate communication across the 2 hemispheres. You do a little cross crawl.
Oh, good.
That kind of
Exercising,
thing.
Good.
It's a sensory issue thing.
Right. And I'm going to stop you just right here because I see there's a little a bubble there that says, "Do I smell good?" I mean, there's several little bubbles.
Yeah.
What are the bubbles? What's the purpose of those?
It's to get him to realize he can ask himself questions about his state. So, am I clean enough for school?
Right.
That's one question he can ask. Like, a lot of kids on the spectrum, they don't think bathing is important. And they don't make the connection to how other people perceive them.
Okay.
So that's why he might want to smell good, because he wants to present himself well.
Yeah. So that self-talk we know
self-talk,
is very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on to breakfast.
Okay, so this is a little bit ahead of his game. Ultimately, we want him to make his own breakfast, but right now, I go to him and I say, "Do you want cereal or oatmeal?"
So giving choices is helpful, so that takes up a little time.
And on weekends, he'll make it himself. And then we're still working on this one. It's like, don't leave your dishes on the table and walk away.
Good, good. Well, to be independent, these types of things are important, to be able to clean up after yourself.
Precisely.
Yes.
You have to have the habit. You have to know that every day you've got to spend a little time at it, or it gets out of hand.
Right. Okay, get ready to go.
Yep, and then that's when, again, in the morning, he's to think about the day, in particular looking at the calendar, and ask himself, what do I need for today?
I love that. I love that bubble right in the middle there. What do I need today?
Yep, and you'll see more about that in a
our
little
next
bit.
slide, yeah.
And then last minute items to go into the backpack. And once he's all ready with his shoes and jacket, if there's time, that's the next thought bubble on top near the school bus, then he can choose to play on the computer, and that's his big reward.
That's an incentive.
Yeah.
So working and using incentives is critical.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
There has to be a reward because they're not internally motivated. You have to provide external feedback.
Right. Well, thank you.
Or at least my son isn't.
So Parker has worked using this flow chart, and now he's at the door waiting for the bus. He's in your home at the door. Tell the viewers about the routine that you've implemented with Parker to help him remember exactly what he needs before leaving the house.
Well, I talk to him a lot about self-talk. I mean, that's been the theme this year. It's like, self-talk helps you solve problems. It helps you remember your stuff. And so I put together a doorway rule.
The doorway rule. And I know our viewers will get a chance to see this. This is really great. Awesome.
And the doorway rule, what he knows what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to stand there and tell me. He's supposed to stop at the door and say, okay, as if he's talking to himself. He tells me, all right, the last time I was at school, let's see, what were we doing? Oh yeah, we were learning about the espresso cafe, and that's going to be today. Do I need to bring anything for that? No. But, oh yeah, we're going to have gym today, so I do need to bring my gym shorts. And then he will run and get his gym shorts. So he's thinking about the past, what was going on the last time he was at school, and he's thinking about the future.
Right.
And between those two things, he can guide himself through the transition and remember to bring with him what he needs.
And I'm sure this has taken some time in working with him and helping him think about, what did you do yesterday? Did you have a test, or do you have a test today? Did you prepare for it yesterday? Those types of things. Just working with him in day to day, and the patience it takes to help someone on the spectrum.
And
to
developmentally, sorry to overtalk, but developmentally, he's much readier this year than he was 2 years ago.
That's great.
2 years ago, if you asked him what happened at school that day, you would just get a total blank look.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. So now it's easier for him to access those memories.
Right. So something like the doorway rule worked for him, this year. So you tried it and it worked. What advice would you have to parents if they tried something like this and it didn't feel right, or there was a problem?
Just wait.
Just wait.
But think about the principles. And the main principle here is self-talk. And using self-talk to get you from A to B. So you can verbally model it for them.
I was just going to say that. Do you sometimes model?
One of the great pieces of advice I got from a Brenda Smith Miles book was think out loud.
Think out loud, yeah.
So that way they get to hear the process from someone else. That it gets normal for them.
Right.
They think, oh, gee, it's normal to talk out loud to myself. And eventually maybe you want them to back off to silent, but to at least get the process going is really helpful.
That's great. And I know that the implementation of these strategies is important, for Parker. And, I appreciate you saying, being patient and encouraging Parker every day will help him to be more independent and realize that these strategies do help me to feel better about going off to school and being prepared.
Right. As parents, we're holding a very persistent vision of what will help him. And we're just trying to be always ready to just provide that extra bit of structure that will help him connect with it.
Exactly. Now, I know that you've worked with Parker in helping him get organized with his homework and getting his homework done and labeling things and making sure everything goes in the right binder. And I know in my experience, I've talked to parents and that seems to be an issue at times too. So I'm hoping that your next slide will really be helpful to some of the viewers in that they might be able to incorporate this with someone that they're working with, or a child that they may have who is on the autism spectrum. So tell us about this slide here.
Okay, well, it's called the PPITIP slide.
And you and Parker came up with this,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, to have him involved is a big plus, and partly because we want him to learn the process of how to create the life he wants in his life. So if he ever bumps into something where, it's just not working for him, it doesn't feel right, he can remember to step back and say, oh, gee, I have choices.
Exactly.
I can choose to do this differently.
Right.
And he'll have a process in his head about how he can go about that.
Right.
So this came out of a teachable moment. We had a terrible crisis 2 weeks ago where he had done his homework. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. He had to leave in 3 minutes, and he couldn't find his homework. And all three of us in the house, we were looking high and low for it. We never found it.
Right.
And he was in tears.
Oh, of course.
So it was too bad. And then so when he came home, and of course he had some emotional distance, he was calmed down. You don't want to do this kind of thing when they're still upset. So we had a little snack after school. And it's like, hey, Parker, let's just think about what happened. Let's do a little hindsight 2020. And we kind of broke it down into, okay, 4 things happened that made it hard for him to find his work.
Right.
And what could we do in the future that would make it easier to keep track of the work? Right. And then we kind of zeroed in on one thing that would make the biggest difference. And that was to put his work in his binder before he moved on to the next thing.
Absolutely.
And so we came up with this paper, and we have it posted next to his door, next to his computer on his desk. And he'll tell you that the key thing is to label. The homework is not done until it's labeled with his name and date and put in the binder.
Beautiful.
That's what makes the homework done.
Right.
And he thought the PPITIP was cute as a way to help him remember. So
he hooked right into that.
Yeah, and the PPITIP stands for put papers in their place.
In their place. I love it. That's awesome. And, as an educator, this is something that we work with students at school to make sure that, your paper's not done unless there is a label, your name's at the top, and there is a date. And, that's just an organization piece that is critical because in a school or at home, you have papers that can be all over the place, and you wouldn't want, their hard work to be misplaced or lost.
And that's what happened, and he saw that was not good.
No, that's not good.
So he was available to learn.
Right.
So you pick and choose your moments.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be ending soon, but I wanted to ask if you could offer the viewers, a piece of advice as a parent of a child on the spectrum. I mean, what might you say to them, as a parent, something that is, you think about the challenges that you've had and how you've gone through, so many things with Parker now and implemented these wonderful strategies. Is there a piece of advice that you could offer some of the parents or the viewers?
First thing is enjoy your kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I'm sure your kid has stuff to enjoy, and really take that in. Take in the good stuff. And then the second thing is to try to find parents and professionals who are familiar with the challenges of autism and can give you the benefit of their experience. Right.
Many resources out there, and we're going to be talking about those in other segments of On the Spectrum.
Yeah, if your kid goes to summer school, hang out with the parents at the front door for 10 minutes before and after. Get to know them. Try to get some connections going. It'll make a big difference.
That's great. I can't thank you enough for being here today. You've just really shed some light on so many things. And again, I want our viewers to know that it is essential that parents work with their children as well as the educators and in the field who have children in their schools, and that to establish these routines and visual reinforcements to help people on the spectrum to make the most of their everyday, and be successful during the day. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in today. These particular slides will be available to you. You're welcome to email me, and I believe my email address is at the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions or comments about this segment, I'd also love to hear from you. I hope this segment on autism and Asperger's has helped you in some way. And until next time, remember that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.